Whether you want to get stronger or get fitter or get faster, Hit the Road is the podcast that you must listen to. Yes, that's right. You are listening to me, Rohan Thakar, on India's first podcast for athletes. This is Hit the Road, where I take you to the experience of athletes of our community that will inspire you and motivate you to go further. This is Hit the Road. If you're tuning in for the first time, make sure you listen to our previous episodes as well. That will motivate you even further. And I'm sure you would love listening to them. We are available on Castbox, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Saavn, and all other major podcasting apps, including India's very own Storio. So make sure you subscribe so that next time when we come, you'll get the buzz. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, do let us know in the comments, or you can mail us to at bonjour@eplog.media or DM us on any of the social media apps that you use, be it Instagram, Facebook or Twitter. Just DM us at eplog media. And now moving on to today's episode, I have with me the Mahajan brothers. They are an inspiration to so many cyclists out there, and this episode will only increase that inspiration quotient. And I'm sure many people will look up to this episode as the guidebook for future races and preparation for getting even more serious in cycling. So what are we waiting for? Let's dive into today's episode. This episode is super special for two things. One is that we have with us the Mahajan brothers, who will be telling us their experiences about Race Across America, Golden Quadrilateral, and the uncountable events that they have done so far. And the second reason why it's special is because they are doing Sea to Sky Adventure. It's a very unique adventure where they'll be riding from Gateway of India till Kathmandu and climbing the mighty Mount Everest. You heard it right, they'll be climbing the Mount Everest, and before they reach the base, they'll be riding from Mumbai to Kathmandu. And this is not just any adventure where you just go, you take a risk of your life, but this is for a cause. This is not to risk your life, but this is to save so many people's lives, to creating awareness about cardiopulmonary resuscitation, that is CPR, the technique to save someone from a heart attack. It's very important. It's really sad to know that not many people know that, nor it is being taught in schools or colleges. But it's these brothers who have taken the initiative to go places, to travel through cities, do workshops on teaching people the technique of CPR. Without wasting any time, I would like to welcome Dr. Hitendra Mahajan and Dr. Mahendra Mahajan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Rohan.
So Mahajan brothers, please tell what are you doing with Sea to Sky, and please give an elaborate explanation about Sea to Sky, and let's start the show. Yes.
See, we as a Mahajan brothers, we always try to do something different, but with always a social angle. Being a doctor, we always try to involve ourselves in social activity, and if we really want to create an impact on a society regarding all the social activities, we have to do something different so that people will listen to us, and then they will inculcate it among themselves. So, and both of us, we love adventure sports right from our childhood, and so we thought, let's take the help of that adventure sports to create the social awareness about various different angles which we want to serve to the society. And being an adventure sports lover, this time we thought that let's mix up 2-3 activities like cycling, trekking and mountaineering, and come up with some event which will create an impact. So the idea came into the mind that why not to make a mission which will start from sea level and go up to the sky level. And as of now, sea level, we all know at the sea, that is the nearest to us is Gateway of India, Mumbai, which is also a historical place. And sky level, that is the roof of the world. And as of now, it is Mount Everest. So that's how the idea came to mind. And as I said, the basic purpose of doing this is, of course, fulfilling our satiety of adventure. But the main aim is to create a awareness in society about the CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which is very important and need of the day in India.
I'm very curious to know that every activity that you do is inclined towards the society. So I want to know, how is it that your adventure, your riding is creating awareness?
So when we start our cycling journey from Mumbai, we have to travel up to Kathmandu on a bicycle. So that's roughly around 2,500 kilometers. So what we have done is we will be covering the distance in 6 days. If I tell you about the first day, like there'll be a CPR demonstration at Gateway of India, 6 o'clock in the morning, and the 7 o'clock is flag off. After the flag off, within 1.5 hours, we'll reach Thana. So there are Thana cyclists, runners, and marathoners, and those friends will be gathering up there. And in Thana also, we will have a CPR demonstration. So it will be a stopover for say half an hour, 1 hour so, and we'll continue our journey to Nasik. By afternoon, we shall reach Nasik. Nasik, we will have a demonstration of CPR and teach people how to do CPR. In this process, doctors' friends will be helping us. We will have our crew. So this is how it goes. And the same day, we'll travel to Dhule. And in the night, we'll have a program in Dhule. This is how the day one ends. Second day, we go to Indore. Likewise, on en route, whichever cities there are big cities, we are going to have a stopover for say 1 hour or so and demonstration of the CPR. So this is how it will be done.
At every place, we'll be conducting the program where we'll be halting for 1 hour. We'll be gathering people over there who are cyclists, sports lover, environment lover, all these people. They are all our social media friends and all. And their media will also be coming. So there we'll be having a hands-on demonstration. And basically, I am an anesthesiologist and I represent Indian Society of Anesthesiologists. I was the president of Maharashtra State also. And we are working a lot in creating this CPR awareness. So at every city, we have a branch of ISA, Indian Society of Anesthesiology. So those anesthesiologist friends will come to help us to teach people how to perform CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, on mannequins. And we'll be conducting a hands-on training. Now that is one part of it. But we'll be distributing almost color pamphlets of how to do it, how to learn about it from the various social media. And then we'll be inviting a media also. So they will be putting it in a media that this mission dedicated for CPR. So we want that people should start talking about CPR, and everyone will feel like, okay, let me know what exactly is CPR. And then that's how we think that our aim will get at least to some extent fulfilled, that people will at least start thinking about CPR and helping the cardiac arrest.
It's really great to see what you are doing to create an impact in the society, and helmets off for your noble deeds. And I've seen that so many people look up to you. You are an inspiration for so many cyclists who are now serious cyclists, who are doing n number of BRMs, who are participating ultra races, who have transformed their life 360-degree by doing race across America, Golden Quadrilateral, and K2K. You have opened the imagination of people who want to get serious into this sport. And I want to know, how did cycling become a part of your life? And you are doctors, and how did physical fitness become a part of your life?
Yeah, see, it was not planned that we would take this journey of endurance or ultra cycling or something like that. It just happened that after completion of our education, we thought that we should be healthy, basically, as we preach people to stay healthy as doctors. So our fitness is also that important. So we started trekking in the Himalayas, and when Mumbai Marathon was introduced, we registered into a Mumbai Marathon and started training for that. And when you're talking about the world's toughest bicycle race, that is Race Across America, it just happened that in 2012, we came to know about a cycle race in Bhutan that is called Tour of the Dragon, and it's the single day, toughest mountain bicycle race. So what happens is, if you have a target, then you analyze that what kind of training you're going to require, how much hours you're going to put in. So we trained for Tour of the Dragon for say 4 to 6 months, and later on we completed the race successfully. And later on we got to know about breves. Breves are, as you must be aware, that they are the long distance endurance ride of say from 200 to 1000 kilometers or so. So once once you achieve one target like 200 kilometers, then you look forward what next is more challenging for me. And that is how it kept on happening from 200 to 300 to 400 to 600. And once I remember both of us were doing 1,000 kilometer breve. That was Delhi, Wagah border, Delhi. And 75 hours are allotted for the same. And we managed to complete it in 61 hours. So that was 14 hours before the cutoff time. So what happens is, you come to know that amongst 20 participants, you are the first one to finish, you are doing it well within the time. Then you always feel that what next or what bigger target I can look for. So that is how Race Across America came into picture. Then there was a race called Deccan Cliffhanger, which is a qualifying race, which is very popular now. So we qualified for the race, and with the support of friends, families, then we thought of registering for Race Across America. So this is how it went on happening, one after the another, achieving target and doing it well within time, and then the next target is up in front of you. You don't get satiated by the same.
As far as I'm concerned, see, I'm anesthesiologist, and we both brothers, we stay in same house, joint family with our parents, and so maybe we developed the liking for same hobbies, that is adventure sports. And somewhere during our college days, I realized that remaining fit is very important if you really want to live your life properly. And being an anesthesiologist, I'm expected to save someone's life all the time. Once what happens, when I was a resident doctor in Sassoon Hospital, I received a call from one ward that one patient needs me urgently. I just ran there. Sassoon Hospital, big building, big floors. From my hostel room, I ran to the bed, and then after reaching there, I was panting myself. Then I realized if I really want to help someone, or if people expect help from me, I need to be fit first. Then only I'll be in a position to help someone. And that day I realized, okay, that day I could overcome that situation, I could survive that patient, but then I learned one lesson: let's remain fit. And so we got involved into a mountaineering club, started learning mountaineering skills, started running marathon. We have one very bad habit, you can call that, or we always try to set a target which is difficult or which will make us stretch little more. Like other people, we also feel sometimes lazy. Like if I ask you daily morning, get up and go for a running or go for a gym or something like that. One fine day, it's raining outside, you don't feel like coming out of your cozy bed. But if you have a target, then that laziness automatically gets away. It gives you power to overcome that laziness, and you say, no, today I cannot let it go like that. I need to come out of this cozy bed. I need to hit the road. I need to train myself, because if I'll waste today, it won't come again. So that's why we set a target, and setting a target means it has to be toughest. That is what, in fact, among ourselves also, we always keep on competing. Like if I run for a 10 kilometers and if I say, okay, today I did it in 50 minutes, I'll just subtly pass a message to my brother, I did it in 50 minutes. I know day after tomorrow I'm going to receive a message where he'll pass me a message that I did it in 49 minutes, So this type of things which keeps us inspiring and move ahead towards our target.
You are always looking for bigger challenges. I can see that. When you started preparing for Race Across America, what were the things that were there in your mind? How did you prepare for RAM? And I'm very curious to know that when did the idea for Race Across America come to you, and how did you approach it?
Exactly. Let me first come to how that thought came in mind. Like, as I said, when we were into cycling, we heard about this qualifying race, and then we did this qualifying race. And then I realized, if I want to really push the healthy lifestyle in people, That's why we started running marathon also, to make. Initially we used to run 4 or 5 people. Now there are almost 1,000 people from Nasik go to Bombay every year to run marathon. Similarly in cycling, I said, if I really want to bring status to the cycling, if I really want people to come into cycling, I need to do something big. We need to do something big. And then when we realized, when we came to know about Race Across America, I talked with Mahendra and we just discussed over it, and we said, let's try it. Because people say that this is the toughest race which is going on for last 35 years in the USA. Toughest endurance race. So why not to, what at the most will happen that we will not be able to do it. That's all. But if we are able to do it, we will be the first Indian, but that will boost all the Indians that yes, they can look forward attempting this kind of races.
We can see that result now.
Yeah, that is our real medal. In fact, like we received a medal. We not only became the first Asian to finish it, but we won in our team of 2 category. We came first in that year. So that is that medal we received, that plaque we received, that honor we received, fine. But that the real, what is our real medal, you know? After that, 8 people did it. And we are encouraging more and more people to do it. And not only race across America, but race across Australia, race across Europe, all these things, so that race across, means tour of the dragon. So more and more people doing it, more and more people taking up for a cycling. Now we are having a national cyclist who are coming with a very high speed. So this is our real gain. This is our real medal. If you ask me that what brings a real sense of achievement of the RAM, is this thing.
Probably what happens, I feel, is when people come to know that these 2 brothers who are doctors and they are active into their profession, and still they can pull out some time, dedicatedly train and achieve such milestones. So what people relate, like tomorrow you will also relate, ki me ka nahi karu shakat. Why I can't do? So when these guys can do, I too can do. So because we were not like national cyclists in our earlier days or something like that. We are in our 40s and we started it quite late actually. And when someone who was not professional cyclist and now we are achieving such targets, so maybe it's like
that sends the message. Like, yes, if they can do it, we can do it, like that.
You know, people always say that it's tough to balance healthy lifestyle and work. So you both are doctors, and every doctor is always busy. Despite of having such a busy schedule, how did you take out time for your fitness, your passion, which is cycling, and the level of cycling that you do? It's not that you just need to do a half an hour or 1 hour workout daily. You need to put in serious amount of time. Long duration rides are there. So how do you balance your rides? How do you balance your training? And how do you balance your work and family life?
I think both of us will answer because there are little different perspective of it. Since I am a dentist, I know I have to open my clinic I have to be in clinic at around 10:30 or so. So what I do before that is up to me. So if I sleep little early, if I get up at around say 6 and if I hit the road by 7 or say half an hour here and there, so I get 2 hours to train. So weekdays, usually we devote 2 hours to maximum 3 hours a day, right? So that morning time is utilized in a weekday. I know my clinic is going to be closed for Sunday, so I'm keeping it closed for Sunday. So that is the day when I get the whole 24 hours is with me. So how much I want to utilize, I remember during our Race Across America training, there used to be schedules where we used to ride, say, 14 hours. So in 14 hours, I remember we covered around 350 kilometers also. So that one day of overdoing and rest of the days you do for a little lesser time, but you do it at a more intensity. Right. And yes, there has to be a systematic plan where, when you're doing it, overdoing it on a day, that is Sunday, then there is a rest day called, the next day will be a rest day. And again, it will build up during the week. And we were fortunate to have Miten Thakkar from Cyclozil. He was our coach, sorry. And we trained for exactly 9 months under his training plan. So this is how it used to go, and we can balance our profession as well as passion. Whereas with Hitendra, he'll still tell his side. Yeah.
See, I'm anesthesiologist. Basically, profession is our prime because that is where from which we get our bread and butter. And if you want to really pursue your passion up to that extent, people think that you have to sacrifice your profession. No, it's not like that. You can very well balance profession and passion, both the things. And in fact, go one step ahead and I'll say that they boost each other. Your profession boosts your passion, and your passion always going to help you be a best in your profession. That's what my experience is. If people say I'm good anesthesiologist, the credit goes to my passion. Whatever values I learn there, I implement in my profession, and I can be a good professional. So here, when you say how you balance it, it's not that difficult at all. When it comes to time management, you need to prioritize. You need to prioritize what things you need to do in the present tense. So if I have to target race across America, obviously my prioritization is, of course, my profession. And after that, what comes into the prioritization is my passion. Training for my race across America, suppose. Let's take the example of race across America. Being an anesthesiologist, it is different for me. Like Mahendra told you that he's having a fixed schedule working hours. As far as my profession goes, my working hours are not at all fixed. I don't know tomorrow what time, where I'll be, in which theater I'll be doing what operation. So in that case, what happens? I cannot schedule my training for a passion because I don't know my professional timings. But then I can tentatively decide, okay, tomorrow I will train myself in the morning. Fine. Out of 6 days in a week, 4 days I am able to do that. But rest 2 days, if I am not able to do that, previous night if I come to know that, yes, tomorrow morning I had scheduled my training for my cycling, but then if I have to go for some operation, fine, no problem. That day I trained myself in the afternoon. Even I had trained myself in the night because that comes second in the priority list. So what you need to shift from profession to passion is dedication. If you are dedicated and if you are disciplined, it is very easy to balance this time between profession and passion. Many times it used to happen that I used to hit the road for my training and immediately I used to get a phone call from a hospital, I am needed urgently. I used to go back to the hospital, perform my duties, but then once I finish with that, again I used to come back and finish my remaining training. This is where you require discipline. We can say that, okay, let's forget it, let it go, let's see tomorrow. No. You have to finish that day schedule. Yes, I used to love other things also. As I told you, nothing comes free. You have to sacrifice one or the other things. Like other things which are not that much important during that time on a priority list, like just going for a party or, hanging around with the friends or just all these things, or just watching a movie on HBO used to be once upon a time favorite for me. But then all those things are not on a priority list as I am targeting for a race across America. So automatically they go out, bringing me more time for my target, for my passion. This is how, if you prioritize your thing, it is not that difficult to balance your time between profession and passion. You can easily do it.
So when we speak about training, I'm sure many are curious, even I'm curious, how did you train for such big events, and what was your training pattern?
Yeah, the training part, as I in the earlier this thing also I mentioned, for the cycling training, it used to be interval trainings. Basically, it is not just that you are taking a cycle, going for a ride, remaining in your comfort zone and come back. This won't increase your speed or anything like that. So there used to be a systematic training plan which we used to follow, and it used to have, say, on some day it will have a hill repeats. Like we are fortunate to have a lot of ups and downs around Nasik. So we'll select one patch which a climb that is, say, 1.5 kilometers, and exerting ourselves to give out your 100%. Always try to push your limits. That now I'm taking 3 minutes, so how can I get down to 2 minutes 50 seconds or so? So there used to be hill repeats, there used to be interval trainings, for say, you are exerting for 20 minutes and then resting for 3 minutes and then again exerting for 20 minutes. So such type of plans were there. Usually on the Sundays also, as I said, we used to devote more time on Sunday. So there is a beautiful Kasara Ghat over just 50 kilometers from here. So we used to all gather there, and Miten has another, his other trainees also used to come, and we used to sort of compete against each other. Yeah, apart from the weekdays, as I said, the hill trainings or the interval trainings, or say tempo rides, you can call it. Apart from that, on Sundays, it used to be either long rides, as I said, of 12 hours, 14 hours or so in zone 3. That's the hard zone, right? And sometimes we used to do, every fortnight, every alternate week, we used to go to Kasara and do the repetitions of Kasara Ghat. And as I said, if there are other trainers with you, you tend to, push your limits more when there is more competition. So I remember putting out a best of 19 minutes, 8 seconds for that 7.5 kilometer climb. So that didn't happen in a day. That took almost say 7-8 months. And when I was at a peak performance, when both my bikes were new, my wheels were good, and I was at the best, my performance. That time I could bring it below 20 minutes. Earlier for the same climb, I required say 25 to 28 minutes. So that was the difference which was achieved gradually. And as I said, pushing your own limits is the key for it.
When we see that there are many people, even in ultra cycle races which are held in India, of course there are many people who go as teams, but the highlight of the race is always a solo racers which are there. So I'm curious to know, what are your insights about the relay format which you played in RAM, and how is it different from solo? What are your takes as a relay cyclist?
Basically, Race Across America, if you compete as a solo rider, you are given 12 days to complete that race. So it's roughly 4,800. So if you divide it, it's almost 400 kilometers a day you should ride, right? Whereas in team of 2 format, it is rode in a relay format. So either Hitendra or me, at any given time, one of us will be on the road. So what happens is, when Hitendra is riding, I will go in my follow vehicle. We have a separate follow vehicles for which are designated to us, right? So I'll get into my follow vehicle. I'll go ahead, stop for him, wait for him. Once I see him approaching, then I start riding. Once I take over the baton, then he goes into your car and goes ahead and stop. That depends upon what strategy you have planned for the day. So if it is a long climb, we can just divide it into, even 1 minute, 2 minutes also we can have a changeover. See, when you're riding in a team of 2, there are no rules that how frequently and how infrequently you want to change. That is not determined. Only thing is, one of you should be on road. And for a team of 2, there are 9 days which are allotted. So from a solo rider where 12 days are allotted, here you are given 9 days. So anybody, as I say, that you should always target, if you target for 8 days, suppose, because you don't want to be very cut to cut with your riding plan when you are racing. So if you divide it by 8 days, so it comes to around 600 kilometers per 24 hours. I won't say day or night. Every 24 hours, you should clock 600 kilometers on a bicycle together between both of us. So that is how it is different. Here you require more speed. You have to be, almost 1.5 times faster than a solo rider. Yeah, of course, solo has its own challenges where a single rider is riding, so he's resting also. So when he's resting, nobody is moving. No, neither the crew nor the rider is moving. Whereas what happens during the night time, like Hitendra and I used to divide the night into 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. One of us is to ride. When I am riding, then Hitendra goes on a rest mode. He goes into his car. He changes, rests, eats, and in that 4 hours, let me tell you, we never slept more than 2.5 to 3 hours per night, and this went on happening for 8 nights. So this is how team of 2 is quite challenging. If I tell you the previous records, like the registration part of it, I always see not more than 4 to 6 teams in team of 2 each time. Whereas team of 4, you have 40 to 50 teams registering. Because in team of 4, of course, the distance has to be rowed by 4 riders, so the automatically the load gets divided. And I would say it is almost similar to a solo riding, because why I'm saying this is because I recently, 2 months back, I did a solo ride from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So I know the challenges of both. I mean, the solo rider as well as the team of 2 rider. Team of 2 riders have to be really fast to get the target achieved, right?
You need a proper strategy, you need a proper planning and good coordination. Then only it is possible.
As Hitendra said about coordination, since maybe we were both brothers and we were considerate about each other, so many times it used to happen that I am riding, we had decided to ride for 4.5 hours. Like at the end of 4.5 hours, I used to ask my crew, what is the status of Hitendra? Then they used to call up his vehicle, his crew members, and ask him, no, he's still sleeping. Then I used to say, let it be. He's in his deep sleep. I'll continue for half an hour or 1 hour more. That he used to also do same thing for me, right? There was a mutual understanding, because once you are into deep sleep, it is better that you recover than you are being woken up and chalo chalao abhi. So what happens is, if his recovery is good, next day he'll perform better. So that consideration was, or that understanding was there between us. So probably that is also a key for success.
I had a conversation with Bharat as well. So he told me that sometimes it's the crew which makes or breaks the race. Crew is sometimes even more important than the rider, because the rider's job is just to ride, but it's the crew who makes sure that the rider is on track and he's not fatigued, he's fresh to go again, his nutrition is checked, everything. So please tell, what are your insights about the crew?
Crew is the crucial part of the team. It's not only the riders who are riding such kind of races. The riders are supported by crew, and crew can be so crucial that they can make the difference between winning and losing. That much importance. In race across America, even if crew makes the mistake, team is penalized. Means they are also expected to follow the race rules and traffic rules, both. So role of the crew is not only being in the race, following all the race rules, being in that country, following all the country traffic rules, but also supporting the rider. Now they used to be the one who used to look after our sleep, our all the things which are required for racing, right from technical part to the nutrition, to the extent they used to feed us with the spoon. In USA, if you know, you just cannot get down of the car and pee anywhere on the road. So many times we used to pee in the car in a pee bottle, and they used to throw that in a proper place. So to that extent, your crew has to be dedicated towards the rider. And we were fortunate that all our friends, right from college days, they were all busy doctors, but we have such a strong bonding. Like if you ask me what are my biggest assets in my life, my friends are my biggest asset. The moment we declared that Mahajan Brothers will be attempting race across America, immediately our friends said, okay, we are part of you. We will see to it that you ride from starting point to the finish point in the most safest manner. And then you require your crew intelligent also. Like I'll say intelligent. Second thing, first part is dedication. If they are dedicated towards rider, that is the first criteria. Second thing is that then they need to be clever enough to understand all the technicality of the race. In those 3,000 miles, you will not find people standing with a flag showing you the direction. They give you a route book. So you need to navigate properly. You need to inform to the headquarters what is happening with your team. You need to keep that geo tracker active all the time. You need to inform considering the 3 different time zones in USA. Eastern time zone, mountain time zone, western time zone, with a difference of 1 hour. But all the team is expected to report from the eastern point of view. Apart from that, when many people are involved, you are bound to make mistakes. And so it is very important among the team members to have such a great coordination that they should not keep on creeping about the mistake which has happened. You got it? Rather than creeping and blaming because of whom it has happened, the first thing should be to rectify that mistake and immediately come into action. That is how the great happens, and we were very fortunate to have our team who kept us navigating properly without letting us go off track, who helped us looking after our nutrition and technicality and watching our speed, what we require at what moment. Because of them, we could not only finish that race, but we came first. It was that dedication needs special mention, and that's why we always dedicate our victory to the crew and our family members.
Like as you said, the rider is supposed to just ride. In the background, the crew is doing all the things. Like as there is a fixed route, and you have to follow the fixed route. One wrong turn, can take you in different direction. And it is not that you can join from there. You can join to a correct road. It is not that way. You have to come back to the point where you have lost the road and start the ride again. So you lose the time. There is fatigue. There is, you're worried about that time lost and everything. So that is also one thing is there. And secondly, as Hitendra said, they are helping us doing everything. Like suppose at after 4 or 5 days, there is so much of fatigue that I cannot do my body or my legs knows only to do rotatory movements, just pedaling movements. And if I try to move my leg, if I want to stretch it and remove my compression socks, I'll cramp. So even our compression socks has to be, pulled. They are the tight ones, right? So they'll do that. They'll remove the shoes. Any little movement which is little odd or little different, it can precipitate your cramps and all those things. So they take care of you like a baby, I would say.
Dedication is very important. That's what I learned when I went there in 2014 to learn about the race as a recce. That time I realized that I had seen some crew members, they are like either leaving the team halfway, or some crew members having fight among themselves, or I had seen some team with the crew members such a bad like they used to just throw their crew out of the team halfway. That time I realized I don't need expert crew, I need dedicated crew, the one who will be very dedicated towards the rider. And that's why we were fortunate that to have such a dedicated crew with us.
I would like to narrate one incident where 2015 we did a RAM, and amongst our 12 crew members, they formed a team and they raced in 2017, 2 years after that. Our crew members, 4 of them formed a team and they registered as a team of 4, and we were there we went as a crew, right? So during that time, I even saw the 4-man team. The 2 riders were literally hitting each other, fighting amongst themselves. So, that also happens. If there is no coordination or no bonding between the team members who are riding, they can also fight, in such a situation where the race is so demanding, so much of physical exertion is required, so much of, mentally also you have to be stable and go through that grueling race day, night. So even such things happens in RAM.
Yeah, means actually that brings us back to the training part of it. Like training, when you train, nothing, as we all know that nothing comes without going through that pain. The gain is always after going through the pain. But then as I told you, we were like not a professional cyclist. When we decided to do race across America, we shifted to road bike. We realized about what technicality needed to be learned, and then we learned it. So when you want to take such a grueling task, it's very important to go scientifically, understand what exactly it is. But till that time, we were under the impression that we have to go for a 5,000 kilometer race, so we should do 5,000 kilometer at least 2-3 times before going for a race. No, it is a wrong concept. So what here we need to do is, we need to understand to take every challenge scientifically. Let it be training part, let it be physical part, let it be nutrition, or let it be our own mental training. Once you go scientifically, you can stretch your body, human body, to the infinite potential. And why you have to go scientifically? To avoid the injuries. If you go scientifically, then you will not get any injury during the training. And that's where comes the importance of all these three things: physical, mental training. So mental training is equally important. All these endurance races, see, all the athlete, or even if you take the example of marathon, in first 1 hour everyone is tired. What keeps on pulling you after that is your mental strength. That is what makes the difference, which keeps on pulling you again and again, and which keeps on asking you. And we're very fortunate, in being an Indian, we have a culture of yoga, we have a culture of meditation, we have a culture of all these things. And from there, we can gain all that mental strength, which helps in such races.
Like you said, ultra races are not just physical races, but it's the race of your mind, in which it's your mind which makes or breaks the race. It's the mind which helps you win the race. So what are the mental techniques that you practiced before entering such a grueling task? And I'm sure many people would be keen to apply it in their life as well.
See, first thing is, we were very fortunate to be in Nasik, where Bhishmaraj Bam sir used to be there in Nasik itself. He's I can say,
Sports psychologist.
first sports psychologist who has given training to so many of our sports person. Let it be Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, or Anjali Bhagwat, or all these people. So the credit of our mental training goes to Bam sir. Like, till that time, we were quite raw. We were not knowing how to take up such challenges of difficult tasks. We were training ourselves like like a pelwan, means like with a hard head, which is not at all a proper way. Bam sir taught us about all this yogic technique. He told us how to take the challenges. Like, first thing I shared with him, sir, I hate rains, and when it will rain in the race, मैं तो गया, how I'll perform. You know what he told me? He told me that whenever it is going to rain in the race, the first thought which should come to you is, you should tell yourself that, oh, it is so nice that it has started raining. And then you should thank God for sending the extra energy through that rain. So, the problem is same, situation is same, you are just changing your thought process.
You're giving your mind affirmation that this is good for you and it is affecting you.
Exactly, total different angle, total opposite angle of it. And we all know body performs the way mind thinks. So if our mind thinks in a positive direction, or if mind thinks whatever challenge we are facing, fine, I can do it, I can overcome it, automatically body starts obeying in that fashion. But if I say, अरे बाप रे, आताच पाऊस पडायला पाहिजे होता का, then there itself our body starts working in a opposite direction. Negativity. So mental training is about training your mind to avoid those negative thoughts, bring all positive thought. Distraction should be kept away, whatever it is. Like small incidents during our race, our third vehicle met with an accident. The moment I realized, fine, nothing is that serious, I distracted myself from that. I know they will take care of it. Or we had a flat tire. We had a flat tire of a car, and while changing it, the car fell down from the jack. No one got panic. Fine, no problem. It will be solved. Let me focus on whatever gone is gone. You cannot do anything much about it. You just rectify it and move it. So mental training teaches us about living in present tense, taking up the challenges, looking forward, keeping yourself moving towards your goal. And that's where you can train yourself from meditation point of view, from thought process point of view, from breathing technique point of view, because you need to take rest. As Mahendra told you, we used to take 5 minutes nap in between. So that 5 minutes should be in such a way that it should give me the rest which otherwise I will get in 4 hours of sleep. And that is quite possible with our yoga. That is what Bam sir taught us, and we learned it and we apply it effectively.
On a closing note, can you please tell us what techniques and tips that you would like to give to our listeners?
First is remaining focus. Remaining focus, when I say that you have to prioritize your training, and then, as Hitendra said, that after profession, that thing only should come to your mind, that I want to train for this, right? Secondly, that all these endurance activities are going to be painful. So, so this is not something that is somebody has told you to do. This is, you have taken up that challenge, right? So once, nobody's pushing you to do that, forcing you to do that. So once you have taken up the challenge, it is bound to be painful, and so you should keep on telling yourself to an extent that maybe I am born to do RAM, or I am born to do Srinagar to Kanyakumari in the fastest time. You should पॉझिटिव्हली रिइन्फोर्स युअरसेल्फ टू एन एक्सटेंट की हे करण्यासाठीच माझं कदाचित माझा जन्म झालेला आहे, म्हणजे त्या पॉझिटिव्हिटीने करायला लागतं. अँड फॉर टेकिंग अप such a big target which goes on for 8 days, 10 days or so, you should not think about the entire, I have to ride 5,000 kilometers. It is quite a burden. So daily you have to ride 400 kilometers. During the day I have to ride 300, and in the night 300. During my ride of turn, when we are taking turns, I have to ride 10-15 kilometers, suppose. So I should think about those 10-15 kilometers only, and forget about it. Let him do his job. I get ready for another my 10-15 kilometers. Or maybe in the night we are riding 100 kilometers. So don't think about, think about my 4 hours which I'm going to ride, how best I can perform, and then forget about it. Because what happens is, in RAM particularly, on the day 3, even if you have covered 1800 kilometers, you have not slept well for 2 nights. And then you start thinking, 3,000 is still remaining, 3,000 kilometers are remaining. So that can cause a lot of burden. So you divide the target into small things. And you can use some techniques like breathing techniques, pranayam, even Anulob Vilob, and Yoga Nidra, or basically a type of Shavasana where you relax yourself. You give your commands, you give your breaths, you devote your breaths to all the parts of your body and calm down yourself. So that can help you recover faster.
As far as tips are concerned, what I feel is, when it comes to mental strength, first step is visualization. You had taken that target, so you need to visualize. Yes, I'll just give you an example of, suppose I have to run, I'm just a novice person, never ran anything, and I'm targeting for half marathon. Okay, so I need to visualize this. Yes, I have to run 21 kilometers, and in that visualization there should be all positivity. First of all, you have to make it a drill in your mind itself, how I had gone on a start line, then how I started, then how I crossed first kilometer, second kilometer, third kilometer, and that's how I'm reaching to the finish line. Everyone is clapping for me. I did that 21 kilometer. This positive thinking will prepare your body in similar fashion. So this visualization needs to be a first step. Second step is, during that, it is going to be very painful. And as Mahendra said, no one has asked you to do it. You have opted for it. So second thought should be, how I'm going to avoid that pain and how I'm going to overtake that. So for that, my second thought should be, I should learn to enjoy that pain. Because why I opted to do that thing? Because I want to push my limit. I want to stretch myself. So I should keep on saying myself that, okay, this is the thing which I asked for, and today God has given me this opportunity to run this 21 kilometer, or in my case, to do this race across America. So in that case, whenever it will be painful for me, I'll keep on thanking God for putting me in the situation which I wanted, so that I can test myself, I can try myself, my own limits, and I can keep doing that. So this is the second thought. Third thought is about pampering your own body, communicating with your own body. That is what in other way you can say meditation. So when I am running or when I am cycling, obviously some parts of my body is going to give me some pain. If your left calf is giving you pain, that is an indication that calf is giving to you that I am working for you and I'm tired. So what you need to do is you need to pamper that calf muscle. You need to communicate with that calf muscle. How? You need to visualize. You need to thankful to your calf muscle. You need to keep on talking, oh, my left calf, I know it is hurting you. You are giving me pain signs, but I'm very thankful to you for letting me keep pedaling or keep running. And now next 4 breaths which I am going to take, I'm sending special oxygen, special power specifically for you, and you enjoy that oxygen, that power. When you start communicating with when you start pampering your own muscle groups or whichever part of the body which keeps giving you pain, automatically you will realize that the pain keeps on subsiding. So communicating with your own body parts is equally important. Pampering yourself, that is what is, in simple word, you can say meditation. And then last thing comes is don't stop. Don't stop. Everyone feels tired. Tiring should not be the reason to stop. I need to stop only when I'm done with it. When you keep on talking like that, it will help you in a great way to reach to your target successfully.
We are having a really great conversation with the Mahajan brothers where we are speaking about their experiences in Race Across America, their training, how did they train for their mindset. So stay tuned as we are coming up with the second part with them as well, where we'll be covering the nutrition aspect for an athlete, how to maintain a proper nutrition balance and what should one eat, what should one not eat, what did they eat for the ram. Also, how is C2 Sky going to be one big experience for not just for them but for everyone whoever they would be meeting during the event. So stay tuned and stay subscribed. We'll be back with another episode. Until then, hit the road.